boys and girls. It's Mrs. Vernetti here, and I am joined by Mrs. Farrell, and we are excited to talk to you today about odd and even numbers. We actually want you to, sorry, I just hit the arrow. We want you to actually do some talking yourself. So my first question for you is, if you look at this picture, you see some bananas. I want to know, how many bananas do you see, and is that an odd or an even number? What do you think, Mrs. Farrell?
I think that when I look at this picture of bananas, I think there are an even number of bananas. And the reason I think that is because I see that there are two groups of two bananas. There are three groups of two bananas. And we know that when we have an even number of something, it means that every item has a pair. So each of those bananas has a pair or a partner in there, and there is not a leftover banana without a partner. So I know this is an even number.
I agree with that statement. I like to say there's nobody lonely right now. And I know bananas can't be lonely, but if bananas could be lonely, there are no lonely bananas. How about
Absolutely.
Mrs. Farrell?
So now I do see a lonely banana because it looks like you just added one more. So now I see 7 bananas, and if we go back and pair them off, I've been pairing off up and down, yep, just like that. So I see 2 and then 4 and then 6, but then that last banana you just added no longer has a friend. That's what I always say. It doesn't have a friend. So
No friend.
no friend today. So I know that this is an odd number of bananas.
So I was looking at them exactly the same way, Mrs. Farrell, but when I was looking at them, I was seeing them up and down. When you said you were looking at them up and down, suddenly I realized we don't have to. We could actually look at them going across. So here is one pair, here is one pair, here is one pair, and then that could be the lonely one. Welcome, Mrs. Miscellaneous. If you have, are you here?
I'm here.
Of a number talk, and we're looking at your floor right now. We're going to keep going, Miss Alunas, and if you get the screen set up, then you can go ahead and join our conversation. So let's.
Sorry,
Mrs. Alunas, we're recording. We'll talk in just a moment. So now, Mrs. Farrell, I've got a new picture on the screen.
Ooh.
Tell me about this picture. Can you tell me whether it's odd or even?
Well, as I'm looking at these monkeys, first of all, I noticed they're not set up right next to a partner this time with the bananas. So it takes a little bit more work for me to figure out if these are even or odd. So I am still going to try and pair each of the monkeys up. So I see 2 monkeys in the bottom left, and then I see 2 more monkeys right next to that.
These 2?
Yep, those 2. And then I see another pair to the right of that going up that top one.
This one here?
Yep, and the one below it.
Right here.
That's their pairs. And then I see 2 more monkeys that can be paired right under that. Yep, those 2. And then I notice that there's one left over that does not have a friend. So I think this is an odd number since that one is not able to be paired off. So I think it's odd.
How many monkeys are there?
Well, I'm going to go back, and I like to count by 2s. I'm going to count those pairs I had seen. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and then one more would give us 9. So I think there are 9 monkeys and that it is odd.
Okay, nice job. Now we're going to move into actually just some numbers. You can imagine that these are monkeys or bananas or anything. What do you think, Miss Miscellaneous? Do you think this is an even sum or an odd sum?
So, well, I know with my fingers that if I put 4 up and I put 6 up, I get 10. And with 10, I have 1 hand, 2 hands. So everybody has partners. So I think it's an even number.
What about you, Mrs. Farrell? Do you agree?
I agree with Mrs. Miscellaneous. I like how she showed us the 10. When I usually think about it, I try to pair my fingers off. It's kind of a crazy finger trick, but 2 and then 2. My thumbs are paired. These 2 are paired, and these 2 are paired. So I notice that each of my fingers has a partner. And I noticed it's one of our make 10 equations. So I agree, it is even.
I like that. And I like how one of you paired them like this,
Mhm.
one of you paired them like this, but in both situations, they end up with pairs. I like to look at each add-in separately. And I like to think, okay, this 6 is an even number. I know that 3 and 3 will pair up. And then I like to look at the 4. I know that 2 and 2 will pair up. Is that Spock or is that more?
Both.
Whatever it is. So I know if these guys all have a partner and these guys all have a partner, then together they'll also all have a partner. I think we might
I
have.
like that.
How about this one? If I were to put these two 10 frames together, would the sum be even or odd? You're ready, Mrs. Farrell. You're showing us you're ready. You've got a solution.
I do. And what I'm going to do to try, I thought I would try and figure out what the sum was first. And in order to do that, I decided to bring over 2 from the second 10 frame, 2 of those 5, and bring them over mentally to the 10 frame with the 8. So I know that I have a full 10, and then I have 3 left over. And so my sum is 13, and I think 13 is an odd number because kind of the same reason we just talked about, those 10, we know those 10 all have partners, and I like the way Mrs. Miscellaneous did it. Those 10 all had a partner, and then I had 3 left over, and when I think about the number 3, I can only pair off 2 fingers, and then I have 1 without a friend or a partner. So I think 13 is an odd number.
Do you agree, Miss Miscellaneous?
I think I might because of what she said, but I kind of am having a little bit of a trouble here because one of them, I have one of the 10 frames. So Mrs. Vernetti, I looked at yours and thought, oh, I could do the same thing, but the 8 is an even number and the 5 is an odd number. So like I don't like that's a challenge to me. So I like how you put those 2 over. That helped me think about 10. So 8, if I put my 8 fingers up, I get 4 and 4. And if I put my 5 up, I get 2 and 3. And this guy doesn't have a partner. So I think I agree with Mrs. Farrell that it's the sum all together is odd.
I like that thinking. Mrs. Farrell, I was thinking of doing the same thing of adding the 2 together. Instead of trying to bring 2 over here, I saw 5 here and 5 here. And I thought that if I just take this one and just rotate it and flip it upside down, that those 5 and those 5 will line up. Those would be my 3 left over. I love the way all 3 of us are coming up with the same conclusion, but we're doing it in the way our minds visualize it. Boys and girls, how about you? How does your mind visualize it? Do you have a different way? I think we have one more slide. Ooh, let's take everything we've talked about so far and use it with these add-ins. Oh, you both have a way to get to the solution. Miss Miscellaneous, let's go first.
Okay, well, I was maybe not going to give you a solution because those 3 numbers look really scary to me.
Oh my goodness, yes. 3 add-ins is just a totally different thing, but I believe you can do it.
I know I can, but I'm going to tell you that I notice all 3 of those digits, those numbers, are even. I noticed that 6 is even, so that's 3 and 3. 8 is even, 4 and 4, and 4 is even, 2 and 2. So I did notice that. And then as I'm talking, I also noticed that there's a 6, 3 and 3, and a 4, 2 and 2. And that makes 10. I know 10 and 8 make 18. I think it's even.
Wow, I like the processing that you went through. Mrs. Farrell, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I did the exact same thing in terms of thinking about the even numbers. I appreciated that, Mrs. Vernetti. That was a good strategy you had shared earlier. So that was my first thought. And then I also saw the make 10 in there, 6 plus 4 equals 10 and 8 more. So I really loved both of those strategies that Mrs. Sloan has had. That was very helpful. I agree that it is even.
So I originally wasn't even coming up with the sum, because the question wasn't what's the sum. The question was, is it odd or even? So I was using my trick and just seeing that they were all double, they were all even. But then, Miss Miscellaneous, when you gave us the total and you said it was 18, I quickly thought, ooh, 18 is one of my doubles facts. And so that you double is going to end up being an even number, because that original number has a pair, which is why you've doubled it. Thank you so much for joining us for this number talk. Boys and girls, I hope that you have learned some things, and you can do a simple odd or even experiment with your family, with your brothers or sisters. You can do it while you're driving. You can just put up a set of fingers and have them share whether it's odd or even. You can find a picture that has a certain number of objects in it, and you can just always say, is this an odd number or an even number? Hopefully you'll be able to use some of those strategies. Keep coming back, and we will have more to come. I'm going to stop recording.
Thanks, Mrs. Vernetti.
Have a great day.